What if I told you that over 50 beloved sitcom stars who brought joy to millions were silently battling a disease that Hollywood refused to acknowledge until it was too late? From Robert Reed's hidden reality to Kevin Peter Hall's tragic fate. Here are 25 sitcom stars who died of immunodeficiency. 1. Robert Reed. Reed was known as the perfect father on TV. He played Mike Brady on The Brady Bunch, a show about a happy family. People saw him as warm, wise, and dependable, but his real life was very different. Robert Reed had a big secret. He was gay. In the 1970s, being openly gay in Hollywood could ruin a career, so he hid his true self and lived with that burden every day. Reed also had problems with his job. While many people loved The Brady Bunch, he didn't. He thought the scripts were too simple and wanted to act in more serious roles. He often argued with the show's producers about the writing. Even though he was unhappy, he kept working hard. He also acted in other TV shows like Medical Center, Hawaii Five-0, and Mystery, She Wrote. Then bad news came. In the 1980s, Reed found out he had HIV. He didn't tell many people and kept acting as long as he could, but his health got worse. In May 1992, he died at 59. The official cause was colon cancer, but later people learned that immunodeficiency-related problems had weakened his body. Reed's death showed how Hollywood treated immunodeficiency with fear and silence. Many fans never knew his struggles. He was loved as the perfect TV dad, but in real life, he had to hide who he truly was. If things had been different, could he have lived more freely? That question remains. 2. Denholm Elliott. He was a great actor who made small roles unforgettable. He played Marcus Brody, the museum curator in Raiders of the Lost Ark. He won awards for his acting and was known for his skill in both drama and comedy. In the sitcom A Fine Romance, he showed his funny side. For 40 years, he built a strong career, impressing both audiences and other actors. But his life was not easy. During World War II, he was captured and became a prisoner of war. That experience changed him. Maybe it also gave him the courage to take risks in his acting career. However, there was one battle he could not win. In 1987, Denholm Elliott was diagnosed with HIV. He kept working and acted in movies like Scorpio Rising and Noises Off, even as he got weaker. Later, he stepped away from the public eye. He spent his last years in Ibiza, where his wife took care of him. In October 1992, he died at 70. Only after his death did people learn the truth about his illness. His story showed that immunodeficiency affected people beyond Hollywood, reaching even the most respected actors. Elliott's death was a big loss to the film industry, but his legacy remained. He proved that supporting actors could be just as powerful as lead stars. Still, one question remains. What else could he have done if he had more time? 3. Kevin Peter Hall. A giant in more ways than one, Kevin Peter Hall stood at an amazing 7 feet 2 inches, making him impossible to miss on screen. People remember him best as the scary but fascinating Predator in the Predator movies. But behind the mask, he was kind and talented. He played many roles, like the friendly Bigfoot in Harry and the Hendersons, and a funny character in Misfits of Science. He wasn't just tall. He was a skilled actor who could do serious and fun roles. Just as Hollywood was starting to see how talented he was, something terrible happened. He got into a car accident and needed a blood transfusion. The blood he received had HIV, and he didn't know it. It was unfair. He wasn't doing anything risky, but he still got sick. Even as the disease got worse, he kept acting. He finished Predator 2 and worked on TV shows and movies as long as he could. But the illness was too strong. In April 1991, he died from immunodeficiency complications at only 35. His career had just begun, and his death was a big loss. His story is a sad reminder that immunodeficiency didn't care who you were. It took away great talent and left people wondering what more he could have done if he had lived longer. 4. Paul Shenar. A powerful presence, Paul Shenar had a deep voice that made everything he said sound important. Most people remember him as the dangerous Alejandro Sosa in Scarface. He played villains well, making them feel real and scary, but he wasn't just a bad guy in movies. Before Scarface, he acted in many TV shows, including soap operas and dramas. On Dynasty, he showed once again that he could play strong and intimidating characters. Even in small roles, he made a big impact. Outside of movies and TV, Shenar was passionate about theater. He helped start the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco, where he performed and taught. He loved acting, especially in Shakespeare plays, where his deep voice and strong presence made every scene unforgettable. But behind his success, tragedy struck. The 1980s were tough for many actors like him because of immunodeficiency. In 1989, at 53, he died from complications of the disease. He never spoke publicly about his illness, likely because of the stigma in Hollywood. His death was quiet, but his impact was loud. His role in Scarface remains legendary, proving that his talent will never be forgotten. 5. Larry Riley. A talented actor, Larry Riley made people believe in his characters. On Knots Landing, he played Frank Williams, a man trying to rebuild his life. The role made him famous, but his skills went beyond TV. He was great in musicals, with a strong voice and a lot of charm. He even performed on Broadway in A Soldier's Play, a show that helped actors like Denzel Washington and Samuel L. Jackson become stars. But as his career grew, his health got worse. In the early 1990s, he started losing weight. Fans noticed, and people whispered. The official reason? Kidney disease. But the truth was much harder. He had immunodeficiency. Only his closest friends and family knew. He kept acting, pushing through the pain, even as his body changed. His last episodes on Knots Landing had a deep sadness that viewers didn't fully understand at the time. In June 1992, Riley died. He was only 38. His death wasn't just another Hollywood tragedy. It showed how immunodeficiency was affecting many actors, especially black performers who had fewer resources. After he passed, his wife, Nina, revealed the truth. His story is one of hidden struggles and lost potential. 6. Tom Villard. An actor who made people smile, Tom Villard had perfect comic timing and a friendly, fun presence. Most knew him from We Got It Made, a short-lived sitcom that still earned him many fans. He was the goofy, lovable guy who could bring laughter to any scene, but he was more than just a sitcom star. He acted in My Girl, One Crazy Summer, and Heartbreak Ridge, proving he could handle both comedy and drama. He also appeared in popular shows like The Golden Girls and Taxi. But in the 1990s, everything changed. His looks faded, and his health declined. Unlike many others, Villard didn't hide. In 1994, he told the world he had immunodeficiency in an interview with Entertainment Tonight. He spoke about how Hollywood turned away from sick actors, the jobs disappeared, and the industry that once welcomed him now shut its doors. But he refused to stay silent. When Villard died in November 1994, he had already made a difference. He used his last months to change the conversation about immunodeficiency. He forced people to see the truth. This disease wasn't just taking lives, it was erasing legacies. He wasn't just a sitcom star. He was a fighter, a voice for those who had been ignored, and a reminder that being sick shouldn't mean being forgotten. Rick Aviles. A comedian and actor, Rick Aviles was best known for playing the villain Willie Lopez in the 1990 movie Ghost. Before that, he made people laugh as a stand-up comedian in New York during the 1970s and 1980s. His sharp humor and streetwise style helped him gain attention. He also appeared in TV comedies like The Robert Klein Time and Mr. and Mrs. Dracula. But Aviles wasn't just funny. He could also play scary and serious roles, making him stand out from other actors. Despite his talent, Aviles had a tough battle with substance addiction. He used opioids, which led to him contracting HIV. During the 1980s and 1990s, many substance users got infected, and the disease spread quickly. Aviles never spoke publicly about his illness. Even as his health got worse, he kept working in movies like Carlito's Way and Waterworld. He wanted to keep acting as long as he could. By the mid-1990s, his body had weakened, and acting became too difficult. In 1995, at just 42 years old, Aviles died from complications related to immunodeficiency. His passing was quiet, but his role in Ghost made sure he wouldn't be forgotten. His performance left a lasting mark in Hollywood, reminding people of his great talent and the tragedy of his early death. 8. Ian Charleson. A talented Scottish actor, Ian Charleson was famous for playing Eric Liddell in Chariots of Fire. Before that, he was a star in British theatre, especially in Shakespeare plays. He performed at London's National Theatre and was known for his deep and emotional acting. He also acted in TV shows like Shine on Harvey Moon, which told stories about life after World War II. In the mid-1980s, Charleson was diagnosed with HIV, but he kept it a secret. At the time, there was a lot of fear and misunderstanding about the disease, especially in the theater world. If people knew he had HIV, he might not have been able to find work. So he kept acting, refusing to let the illness stop him. His last role was playing Hamlet in 1989. It was a powerful performance, filled with real pain, and critics called it one of the most moving versions of the play ever seen. But behind the scenes, Charleson was getting weaker. In January 1990, he passed away at the age of 40. After his death, his loved ones revealed his battle with immunodeficiency. His story helped bring attention to the disease, especially in British theatre. People started talking more about immunodeficiency and supporting those affected by it. In his honor, the Ian Charleson Awards were created to celebrate young actors, making sure his name and legacy would live on. 9. Merritt Butrick. A young actor in the 1980s, Merritt Butrick played Johnny Slash in the TV show Square Pegs. His character was funny, odd, and different, which made him popular with young audiences. The show only lasted one season, but it helped Butrick become a known actor. He also acted in serious roles, including playing David Marcus, the son of Captain Kirk, in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. He showed a lot of talent and seemed to have a bright future in acting. Butrick's life was not easy. Even though he had success, his career slowed down. He got smaller roles in TV shows and independent films, but Hollywood did not give him big opportunities. Then he got terrible news. He was diagnosed with HIV in the late 1980s. At that time, there was a lot of fear around the disease, so he kept it a secret. He kept acting for as long as he could. His last role was in a stage play called Kingfish. In March 1989, Butrick died from complications of immunodeficiency. He was only 29 years old. His death was tragic, cutting short a life that had so much promise. Even though he did not have a long career, people still remember him. His roles in Square Pegs and Star Trek keep his memory alive. 10. Charlie Barnett. A comedian who could make anyone laugh, Charlie Barnett performed in Washington Square Park in New York City, drawing huge crowds. He didn't need a microphone. His voice was loud and strong. His comedy was real, sharp, and full of energy. People loved watching him because he had a special talent for making everyday life funny. In 1980, Barnett almost became a cast member on Saturday Night Live. This could have made him a big star, but he struggled with reading cue cards, and the role went to Eddie Murphy instead. Even though he missed this chance, he didn't stop. He became popular through stand-up performances and appeared on Def Comedy Jam and Miami Vice. He had the talent and the drive to be one of the greatest comedians of his time. But Barnett had personal struggles. He battled substance addiction, which hurt his career. Hollywood became unsure about working with him, and his chances became fewer. Still, he kept performing, showing his love for comedy. Then he got sick. Barnett was diagnosed with HIV, likely from substance use, but he didn't let it stop him. Even as his health worsened, he continued performing, making people laugh while he was suffering. In March 1996, he passed away at the age of 41. Barnett's death was a great loss to comedy. He had a way of making people laugh at the hardest parts of life. If he had more time, he might have become one of the greatest comedians ever. His talent was undeniable, and those who saw him perform will never forget him. 11. Dack Rambo. Looking like the perfect TV star, Dack Rambo had strong features and a serious stare that made people pay attention. He started out in soap operas like Another World and later became famous as Jack Ewing on Dallas. Whether he played a good guy or a bad guy, people couldn't stop watching him. He had natural charm, and his career seemed to be going great. But off-screen, things were different. Hollywood wasn't a safe place for gay actors. If people found out, their careers could be over. So Rambo kept his secret. He played the part that Hollywood wanted, knowing that telling the truth might cost him everything. Then, in 1991, he made a brave decision. He told the world he had HIV. At that time, very few actors talked openly about immunodeficiency, but Rambo refused to stay silent. He became an activist, trying to educate people and fight against the fear and lies surrounding the disease. But Hollywood turned its back on him. The job offers stopped. The industry that once welcomed him now ignored him. Even as he got sicker, Rambo kept fighting. He spoke out, tried to spread awareness, and refused to be ashamed. But the disease was too strong. In March 1994, he died at 52. His death showed how unfair the world could be to people who didn't fit the mold, but his courage helped change things. Today, actors don't have to hide as much as he did. What if Hollywood had accepted him sooner? How different would things be now? 12. Franklin Seals. A rare kind of talent, Franklin Seals was classically trained at Juilliard and could do both comedy and drama with ease. On Silver Spoons, he played Dexter Stuffins, the serious, smart business manager who brought a unique humor to the show. Even when he wasn't the main star, he always stood out. His acting was deep and full of meaning. Born in the Caribbean and raised in New York, Seals was one of the few black actors of his time to make it into mainstream TV. He was skilled, hard-working, and deserved bigger roles. But Hollywood had limits, and talent alone wasn't enough to change them overnight. Still, he kept working, proving himself in theater, film, and television. Then, rumors about his health started. Unlike others, Seals kept his illness private. No one knew what he was facing until it was too late. In May 1990, at only 37, he passed away. His death barely made the news. Hollywood moved on, and it took years for people to realize just how much he had given. His work is still here, showing his incredible talent. What could he have achieved if life had been kinder? 13. Robert Drivas. An actor who stood out without even trying, Robert Drivas had sharp features and a strong screen presence that made a lasting impact on television, film, and theater. He was not always the main star, but he was always memorable. In the 1960s and 1970s, Drivas appeared in crime dramas and legal thrillers on television. He became a familiar face, even if his name was not widely known. He acted in shows like Hawaii Five-0 and The Defenders, bringing energy to every role. Whether playing a troubled character, a villain, or a surprising ally, his talent was clear. But television was not his only love. Drivas was passionate about theater. He acted in plays like The Illustrated Man and The Sign in Sidney Brustein's Window. However, his biggest success came as a director. He directed Butterflies Are Free, turning it into a Broadway hit. His work behind the scenes showed his deep artistic talent. Fame did not drive him. His love for the craft did. Tragically, in the mid-1980s, Drivas was diagnosed with immunodeficiency, a disease that was feared and little understood at the time. Unlike some who later spoke out, he faced his illness privately. His health declined, and in June 1986, he passed away at just 47 years old. The industry barely noticed his loss, and his name faded too quickly. But his legacy, his skill, vision, and dedication lives on. 14. Leonard Frey. An actor with a special talent, Leonard Frey could make people laugh, feel, and connect with his characters. His most famous role was Motel the Tailor in Fiddler on the Roof. He played the part so well that he was nominated for an Academy Award. People loved how he made the character warm, funny, and real. Even though he was successful in movies, Frey loved the stage the most. He was great in The National Health and The Boys in the Band, a play about the lives of gay men in New York. At that time, stories like these were not often told. Frey had a way of making people feel both the joy and the pain of his characters. Television also recognized his talent. In the 1970s and 1980s, he appeared in shows like Barney Miller and Best Friends. His characters were always sharp, witty, and a little nervous. He had perfect timing and knew exactly how to deliver a line, but he never cared about being a big star. He acted because he loved it, not because he wanted fame. Then, Frey got sick. Like many others, he kept his struggle with immunodeficiency private. By the time people knew, it was too late. He passed away in August 1988 at just 49 years old. His death was part of a heartbreaking crisis that took many talented artists too soon. The world lost a brilliant performer, someone who still had many stories left to tell. 15. Tom Fuccello. Never the main star, Tom Fuccello was still a familiar face. He acted on TV for many years, playing roles in different dramas and comedies. He was one of those actors who always did a great job, even if he wasn't the biggest name. His most famous role was on the hit show Dallas. He played Paul Morgan, a smart businessman who was part of the show's twists and turns. He wasn't the most famous actor in the series, but he was important to the story. Fuccello acted in many other TV shows too. He was in soap operas like One Life to Live and crime shows like Barnaby Jones. No matter what the role was, he made it stand out. He didn't chase fame, but the people he worked with respected him for his skill and dedication. In the early 1990s, Fuccello got sick with immunodeficiency. Back then, many people didn't talk about the disease because of the stigma around it. Fuccello kept his illness private and worked as long as he could. Eventually, his health got worse, and in August 1993, he passed away at the age of 56. His death was quiet, like many others in Hollywood at the time. The industry lost not just actors, but also talented storytellers. Sadly, the world barely noticed their passing. 16. Anthony Holland. A talented actor who had a special way of making people laugh, Anthony Holland wasn't the main star, but he always stood out in the background. During the 1970s and 1980s, he appeared in many TV sitcoms, including Laverne and Shirley. His characters were often nervous or odd, and he played them perfectly. People might not remember his name, but they remembered his face and the way he made them smile. Holland was even more passionate about theater. He performed in off-Broadway plays where he could take on unusual and creative roles. He cared more about acting than being famous. While TV gave him some attention, he loved the stage the most. He refused to change who he was just to be more popular. Then, the 1980s brought a terrible disease. Immunodeficiency spread quickly, especially in the entertainment world. Holland, like many others, got sick. He didn't hide it from his friends, but the world wasn't ready to be understanding. The industry ignored him, and people whispered behind his back. He fought his illness alone, without much support. In the summer of 1988, at the age of 60, he passed away from immunodeficiency-related complications. The entertainment world barely noticed his death. But those who worked with him never forgot his talent and kindness. His legacy lives on in the shows he helped bring to life and in the laughter he gave to so many people. 17. Gene Anthony Ray, a dancer and actor who became famous for playing Leroy Johnson in Fame. Gene Anthony Ray didn't just act the role, he lived it. His dance moves were powerful, full of energy, and impossible to ignore. He had never been trained in fancy schools, but his talent was undeniable. His body spoke through movement, breaking every rule of gravity and expectation. When Fame became a hit, Ray was everywhere, on TV, in magazines, and on talk shows. Hollywood loved him, but the same industry that lifted him up also turned its back on him. Ray grew up in Harlem, facing many challenges. Even though he starred in Fame, he was never accepted into the real-life performing arts school that inspired the show. It was an ironic twist. On screen, he was a star, but in real life, he faced rejection. As the years passed, opportunities faded. He struggled with substance addiction, and his once bright career started to slip away. He kept dancing, but the spotlight grew dim. The calls stopped coming. Fame, which had once opened doors, no longer protected him from the harsh realities of life. Then came the diagnosis, HIV. He kept it a secret, battling his illness in silence. The 1990s were difficult, and by 2003, at just 41 years old, he passed away from complications related to immunodeficiency. His life was cut short, but his impact remains. Gene Anthony Ray's legacy still shines. Young dancers study his performances, inspired by his raw passion and talent. He proved that you don't need formal training to make history. You just need heart, determination, and the courage to be yourself. 18. Tommy Sexton. A comedian from Canada who changed comedy in a big way, Tommy Sexton was part of a group called Codco, which made fun of serious topics like politics and society. He was not afraid to speak up and make people think while making them laugh. Sexton was known for playing strange and funny characters. People loved watching him on TV because he was full of energy and could make anyone laugh. But his life was not just about comedy. Behind the jokes, he faced a tough battle that was no laughing matter. In the early 1990s, life was hard for many people, especially those who were openly gay. Sexton was one of them. He lived during a time when being gay was not always accepted, and he had to deal with many challenges. One of the biggest was the immunodeficiency epidemic, which was spreading quickly and taking many lives. Sexton found out he had immunodeficiency, but instead of hiding, he chose to speak up. He became an advocate, teaching people about the disease and helping others understand it. He wanted to make a difference, even when he was sick. He was brave, and refused to let fear stop him from using his voice. Sadly, he passed away in December 1993 when he was just 36 years old. Even though he was gone, people did not forget him. His name became part of something important, the Tommy Sexton Center. This place helps people who have HIV immunodeficiency, giving them support and care. Tommy Sexton's time was short, but his impact was huge. His comedy made people laugh, his courage made people listen, and his kindness made people remember him. His legacy still lives on today. 19. Richard Warwick. An actor who had something special about him, Richard Warwick had a face people recognized but couldn't always name. His talent was obvious, but he never became a big star. Instead of chasing fame, he focused on acting, letting his performances speak for themselves. Even though he never became famous worldwide, his work left a lasting impact on film, television, and theater. His big break came in 1968 with the British film If, directed by Lindsay Anderson. He played Wallace, a rebellious student who had a mix of mystery and charm. The movie was a hit and became a classic, representing the restless youth of the time. Warwick's performance was unforgettable, and it seemed like he was on his way to stardom. But fame is unpredictable, and things didn't go as expected. Instead of chasing big Hollywood roles, Warwick chose projects that interested him. He acted in the British sitcom Please Sir, where he became a familiar face to TV audiences. Despite this, he never became a household name. He remained an actor respected by his peers, but not widely recognized by the public. He wasn't interested in the spotlight. He cared more about good roles and creative work. Through the 1970s and 1980s, Warwick continued working steadily. He appeared in popular shows like Doctor Who and Tales of the Unexpected, always delivering strong performances. He could play different types of characters, aristocrats, charming tricksters, or mysterious figures. He had a way of making every role interesting, even if the world didn't always notice. Then, in the 1990s, Warwick was diagnosed with immunodeficiency. At the time, there was a lot of fear and misunderstanding about the disease. He chose to keep his illness private, avoiding public attention. He continued acting as long as he could, never asking for sympathy. Back then, many people with immunodeficiency faced stigma, and Warwick's decision to stay quiet was understandable. He passed away in December 1997 at just 52 years old. His career never reached the heights it should have, but his work still matters. He was one of many talented people lost too soon, a reminder of an era when immunodeficiency took so many lives. Though his name may not be widely remembered, his performances live on, proving he was an actor worth knowing. 20. David Oliver. Having everything, charm, talent, and a bright future, David Oliver had a face made for the screen and a presence that caught people's attention. But in Hollywood, talent doesn't always mean success. And for Oliver, fate was cruel. His time was cut short before he could truly shine. He first became famous on the soap opera Another World, playing Perry Hutchins. Fans loved him. He had something special, more than just good looks. He made his character feel real, standing out even in a show with a long history and a changing cast. His success on the show suggested a long career ahead. But he didn't want to be just a soap star. He wanted more. He acted in dramas and sitcoms like Mystery, She Wrote, and Highway to Heaven. But the stage was where he felt most at home. He loved theater, where he could dive deep into characters and tell meaningful stories. Acting wasn't just a job for him, it was an art. He proved he was more than just a TV actor. He was a true performer. Then came the diagnosis. In the late 1980s, immunodeficiency was a death sentence. Hollywood wasn't kind to those with the disease. Oliver, like many others, kept his illness a secret. He didn't want it to define him. He kept working as long as he could, holding on to his passion for acting. At that time, revealing his condition could have ended his career. Staying silent wasn't just a choice. It was necessary, but it wasn't enough. By November 1992, he was gone. He was only 30 years old. His career had just begun when his life was taken too soon. His death left a hole in both his personal and professional worlds. He could have reached incredible heights if he had more time. What could his career have been if he had lived longer? Another talent lost too soon. Another name fading into memory. His career was short, but his impact was real. For those who remember him, David Oliver is a reminder of what could have been. His performances are glimpses of an actor whose potential was never fully realized.